My name is Fatima Wane, and I will be your host. The COVID-19 pandemic has paralyzed the cultural sector. From creation to production, distribution, and access, no actor in the creative value chain has been spared. The sector has lost millions in revenue and was forced to let go its staff. Many artists fell through the cracks and found themselves in a particularly difficult situation. As we take stock of our losses and we continue to look for ways to save culture and adapt to this new reality, this International Year could not have come at a more opportune time. This year, UNESCO will highlight the contribution of culture to the global economy and will amplify its role in sustainable development in order to build back better. 2020 has shown us that we need fundamental changes within the cultural sector to ensure that everyone benefits from the creative economy. But changes of this magnitude do not happen alone. That is why UNESCO will place partnerships and knowledge exchange at the heart of this creative economy in 2021. It is in the spirit of cooperation that the celebration of this year will be marked by messages from our friends and partners. And without further ado, I have the honor of sharing the message of the Director General of UNESCO, Mrs. Audrey Azoulay. Her message is delivered by Mr. Ernesto Ottone, UNESCO's Assistant Director General for Culture.
Merci.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mr. Volkan Bozkir, President of the United Nations General Assembly. Your Excellency, Señor Iván Duque Márquez, President of the Republic of Korea. Mr. Chairperson, Your Excellency, Park Yang-gu, Minister of Culture, Sport and Tourism of the Republic of Korea. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has caused a crisis in culture that is both profound and unprecedented. An entire sector is now at risk. In Europe, earnings from the cultural and creative economy have dropped by 31%, as much as in the air transport sector. But the risk not only concerns the economy, it also concerns people. In celebrating the International Year of Creative Economy, we embrace this wider vision of culture. We celebrate the power of culture to unite us as a universal language of shared emotions, connecting us to others and our common humanity. This power has never been clearer than in the past few months. We also celebrate culture for its diversity, its ability to enrich our societies and our future. We cannot let this crisis, which has threatened so many small cultural actors, deprive us of so many different ways of seeing the world. That is why this International Year, launched by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on the 25th of January, comes at exactly the right time. Not only will it create opportunities for decision makers to make strong commitments to culture, it will also help us better understand the creative economy. This means measuring the scope of the crisis, which is far from over. But it also means defining the contours of the creative economy, especially its economic value and potential for development. With the entire United Nations family, we will work all year long to collect data on culture, to better understand employment, consumptions, models, and the importance of culture in national economies. This data will be made accessible to all to inform and enlighten decision-making. It will contribute to the lesson learned from over 240 resilient debates in more than 110 countries, which have been summarized in our policy guide, Culture in Crisis. Mesdames et Messieurs, les conclusions en sont claires.
Ladies and gentlemen, conclusions are clear. crisis has highlighted challenges in the creative economy that we must tackle, and the answers to these challenges will inform the collected data. The first of these challenges is the fact that actors and artists are in a very difficult situation with the crisis. They were left without any income overnight. In order to deploy itself, creativity needs security, safety. We need to think about a fair compensation and a social protection that is adapted for artists. And this is what the 1980 UNESCO recommendation on the condition on the status of the artist states. It must be a source of inspiration. We must also regulate the digital economy in the culture because of the growing dissemination of culture on the internet. We need to find a fairer models of compensation. And I call upon the major players of the digital economy to assume their responsibilities, and I call upon the states to mobilize themselves in order to ensure a fair compensation. There is also the risk of uniformization and standardization of cultural products. Digital development is an opportunity, but also a threat for cultural diversity. And this is why we wanted to associate this year to the Convention of 2005, which actually guarantees this cultural value, which is absolutely essential. And I call upon the states that have not ratified this convention yet to do so. And I call upon everybody to make even more efforts to implement it. These challenges are interconnected and we need to tackle them together. This is the commitment of UNESCO that has been thinking for a long time already about how to support culture and creativity. And with this International Year, we're inviting you to contribute to these efforts to deploy the whole power of culture in order to promote our economies, to develop our economies, to unite our societies, and to be an inspiration for sustainable development. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. ADG, for this powerful message that shows the clear and firm commitment of UNESCO for the creative economy in 2021 and beyond, of course. As you may know, it was at the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly in 2019 that the year 2021 was declared the International Year of the Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. With the common goal of promoting culture as an integral part of the Sustainable Development Agenda, UNESCO and the Office of the President of the UN General Assembly are working closely together. On the 21st of May, the World Day of Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, UNESCO will be with the President during a high-level meeting in New York. Also, I would like to welcome now the chair of the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, His Excellency, Mr. Volkan Bozkir.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to take part in launching UNESCO's roadmap for the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. While often underestimated, the creative economy contributes to 3% of global GDP and employs 30 million people, including more young people aged 15 to 29 than any other sector. For close to 20 years, its exports have often outpaced other industries. Yet, as we know, the cultural and creative industries are experiencing an unprecedented collapse, with wide-scale closures of cultural spaces and venues, and the unemployment or underemployment of millions. Despite these challenges, our joint efforts throughout the year of creative economy offer the hope of a reprieve for these sectors and their workers, as well as an opportunity to address these sectors' vulnerabilities. For my part, I will host the General Assembly high-level event on culture and sustainable development in May 2021, around the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. This event, to be held under the theme of Building Back Better towards a more resilient and impactful culture sector throughout COVID-19 and the Decade of Action, will allow member states and stakeholders to share best practices and lessons learned and offer insight on how best to leverage culture and creative industries for relief and recovery plans. It is my hope that this event will also showcase the transformational potential of these sectors as underutilized accelerators for implementing the SDGs. Capitalizing on the creative economy's potential can help diversify countries' production and exports while supporting sustainable development. Addressing the precarious status of artists, cultural professionals, and organizations, and taking into account the impact, opportunities, and challenges of the digital environment will be central to these efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, the current global crisis has brought to light the critical contribution of culture to collective well-being. In this spirit, I call on member states and the UN system to engage artists and cultural professionals, not only as service providers, but as change makers and contributors. We need to build more strategic partnerships and capitalize on the knowledge and skills of this dynamic and diverse group. I thank UNESCO for its commitment and support for the upcoming high-level event. Working together, we can support culture's transformational potential. I look forward to the participation of culture ministers and stakeholders from all regions of the world to help make this a reality. And I invite you all to follow the proceedings live on UN Web TV and to take part in ensuring this year succeeds in its ambitious goals. Thank you.
La Conférence des Nations Unies sur le commerce et le développement.
The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, commonly referred to as UNCTAD, is the lead United Nations agency for this international year. For many years now, UNCTAD has been working to shape global understanding of the creative economy with the ultimate goal of promoting development through creativity. Its innovative creative economy program supports trade in creative goods and services from creative industries. And I'm pleased now to introduce Madame Isabelle Durant, Deputy Secretary General of UNCTAD.
Is the International Year of Creative Economy. In this COVID period, during which SDG and worldwide economy are so severely affected with devastating socio-economic consequences for the most vulnerable countries and sectors, celebrate creative economy could appear as cosmetic. It's of course completely wrong. Creative industry gives many developing countries and economies in transition an opportunity to diversify production and export, to develop competitive advantage and attract investment. Creative industry can also support entrepreneurship, stimulate innovation and empower people, particularly young people and women, and at the same time, preserve and promote cultural diversity and heritage. Creative economy is just a fantastic opportunity. In 2021, UNCTAD will be collaborating with member states and other stakeholders in this regard. We will be working to raise awareness, promote unexpected cooperation, sharing interesting experiences. We are all actors and protagonists in the creative economy. And that's why I invite all of you to commit yourself, act, and join us in this celebration.
maintenant, nous avons le plaisir d'accueillir
And now we are pleased to welcome the World Bank. The World Bank emphasizes the potential of the creative and cultural industries as a driver for better and more inclusive employment, in particular among young people. In order to unleash the full potential of the creative economy, the World Bank calls for nurturing human capital, providing access to finance, expanding market access, building networks and communities, and harnessing digital technology. The current pandemic has also demonstrated the role of creativity in human resilience. It is therefore entirely appropriate that Mr. Sameh Wahba, Director at the World Bank of the Global Cluster on Urban Development, Disaster Risk Management, Resilience and Land, is delivering a message today.
Bonjour, good morning.
Good morning.
Sameh Wahba. I'm the Global Director for Urban Disaster Risk Management, Resilience and Land Global Practice at the World Bank. And it's my real pleasure to join you today, even if virtually, for the launch of the International Year of the Creative Economy for Sustainable Development as part of the Intergovernmental Committee of the Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. The creative economy is not only one of the fastest growing sectors in the world, representing millions of jobs and 3% of global GDP, and one of the sectors that most employ young people aged 15 to 29, but it's also one of the worst affected sectors because of COVID-19. COVID-19 has especially hit hard cities, and within cities, those with unsteady jobs and irregular incomes, such as those working in the creative industries, those working in the informal sector, and the poor are faring worse off. Now, at the World Bank, our global practice has a strong and very well-established partnership with UNESCO's culture sector, focused on sustainable cities, including cultural heritage and creative cities, as well as on the role of culture at the heart of post-disaster, post-crisis and post-conflict reconstruction and resilient recovery. This was the subject of our joint position paper published in 2019 on the CURE framework. CURE standing for Culture in City Reconstruction and Recovery. We are now in the process of finalizing our second joint paper on creative cities. This reflects our commitment on the important role that creative cities play in sustainable development and how cities can leverage culture and enable the creative industries to foster through strong institutions, adapted regulations, spatial interventions, as well as support to human capital and access to finance. The world is urbanizing really rapidly. By 2050, about 70% of the global population will be living in cities. As such, creative cities will not just be the location of choice for the creative industries, but they'll be the key enabler of the growth of such an important sector of the economy. So with my very best wishes for the launch event, and I want to take the opportunity to reconfirm our commitment at the World Bank to work in partnership with UNESCO for the development and strengthening of creative cities and the creative economy for sustainable development. Thank you very much.
So we've heard our partners from the UN and Intergovernmental Organization, and now I would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Iván Duque, President of Colombia. UNESCO had the pleasure of welcoming him in November 2018 during the conference on Creative Economy, Orange Economy, Cultural and Creative Industry, an opportunity for all. He has presented in detail the orange economy in Colombia that aims at promoting income, employment opportunities through creative industry, heritage, innovation. The expertise and passion of Mr. Duque for creative economy as the national growth engine are well stated, in particular in the 2013 publication on orange economy that is still a source of inspiration. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Envío un saludo a la directora general de la UNESCO, Audrey Azoulay, quien en compañía del presidente de la Asamblea General de Naciones Unidas y de directivos de la UNCTAD, OMPI y Banco Mundial, lanza el Año Internacional de la Economía Creativa para el Desarrollo Sostenible. Me emociona mucho este lanzamiento, que pone la economía creativa como parte central del desarrollo sostenible, porque la cultura y las industrias creativas reflejan calidad de vida, oportunidades y una transformación sin igual. El año 2020 fue quizá el año más duro para la economía naranja y la cultura en la historia reciente, pero justamente este 2021 debe ser el año de la reinvención y la resiliencia, donde las adversidades se vuelven oportunidades. A pesar de las dificultades, hemos visto cómo en muchos países los artistas empiezan a hacer conciertos virtuales, cómo el cine se las ingenia para seguir llegando con entretenimiento a los hogares, cómo el comercio electrónico, el diseño, la publicidad, la animación digital y otras creaciones funcionales se encuentran con la aceleración del futuro. Este año 2021 debemos sortear los inconvenientes con fuerzas, por ejemplo, modernizando las instituciones culturales con las enseñanzas de la pandemia. Desde Colombia tenemos un gran camino recorrido y haremos lo necesario para afrontar los retos y darle continuidad a la economía creativa del país en un año que será clave para toda la reactivación de Colombia. Lo que hemos logrado hasta el momento demuestra que la economía naranja ya no es una oportunidad infinita, como titulé el libro que escribí hace más de 7 años, sino que ahora es una realidad infinita. Ahora estamos orgullosos porque convertimos un sueño en una realidad para incidir en la transformación de Colombia. Hoy somos el país más competitivo en toda América Latina y el Caribe para el desarrollo de las industrias culturales y creativas. Este año será el de mayor presupuesto en la historia de Colombia para el sector cultura, que superará los 440.000 millones de pesos. En la economía creativa no hay estratos. El acceso a las oportunidades está democratizado. Por eso, ahora que debemos recuperarnos a nivel económico y social, creciendo bajo el principio de no dejar a nadie atrás, debemos tener esta economía como protagonista. Lo debemos hacer en cada uno de los países, articulados con la Convención de la UNESCO de 2005, así como con la implementación de la Agenda 2030 para el Desarrollo Sostenible y sus 17 objetivos, que en nuestra hoja de ruta colectiva para garantizar una mejor recuperación está presente de manera permanente. Colombia, bajo su liderazgo, al frente de las presidencias pro tempore de la CAN, de la Alianza del Pacífico y de Prosur, liderará los procesos de circulación e integración cultural desde el audiovisual, con proyectos como Retina Latina, hasta con programas de cooperación de cocinas tradicionales como Ibercocinas. Además, tenemos proyectado para este 2021 una participación activa a escala internacional de la talla de Expo Dubai. Entre nuestros retos están el de consolidar la descentralización y la democratización de la cultura y reactivar el sector con la ley Reactivarte aprobada el año pasado. También continuar fortaleciendo a nivel institucional el sector cultura y reactivar nuestro archipiélago de San Andrés, Providencia y Santa Catalina, afectado por el huracán Iota, para recuperar sus infraestructuras culturales. La economía naranja es un bien público de la sociedad. Este debe ser un año para integrar nuestras sociedades a partir de la cultura, de la creatividad y de la innovación. Hoy les hablo desde un país donde la mayor riqueza está en la cultura y estoy seguro de que en ella y en la economía creativa tenemos en muchos de nuestros países un camino para un mejor y mayor progreso. Les envío mi saludo especial. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Excellency, Mr. Duque, for this passionate and inspiring message. The celebration of this International Year of the Creative Economy for Sustainable Development is ending, and so UNESCO is calling upon its members to sustain their national creative economy, in particular through political awareness raising. Cultural professionals and artists are at the heart of the creative economy. So we need to start to really take measures for their working conditions that are often mediocre. They need to have a fair remuneration for creative work and artistic freedom. Digital technology offers new opportunities, but it also creates new challenges. Cultural consumption is changing online, and the adaptation of policies to the digital environment is a precondition so that the creative economy of tomorrow can be flourishing and prosperous. The UNESCO has launched a roadmap which can provide member states with directions and guidance for decision makers, for cultural professionals, for anyone who would like to take part in the conversation. We also invite everyone to visit the website of the Year of the Creative Economy, which is accessible at the address which is shared in the chat. I would like to thank everyone, our distinguished guests and remote viewers.